I am under a rock, and the rock is higher than I. Jehovah, me, I am under the rock. Go tell my enemies, I am under the rock. Jehovah, me, I am under the rock. I am under the rock, and the rock is higher than I. Jehovah, me, I am under the rock. Oh, tell my enemies, I am under the rock. Jehovah, me, I am under the rock. A pleasant good morning, day, afternoon, night, wherever time you're tuning in. I just want to thank you guys for, first of all, tuning in to my devotion. Today, my topic is your work does not count if it's not based on God's authority. So the main thing I want to highlight is God's authority. That's the main focus on what, if we understand what God's authority mean, then we understand our job and our task. So authority, we all been hearing what's authority throughout this whole devotion for the month so far. And we know it's somebody that's in charge, somebody that we listen to, somebody that give us rules and regulation, guidance, somebody we just look up to that we know that we're going to have to listen to because they're over us and we must follow their rules. Whatever they say, we should do. So the most important thing is, with this topic, is God's authority. So who's the authority in this situation? The authority that we're focusing in this situation is God. So God is authority. So which means that anything that God wants us to do, we must do what he says. Most of the time, the Bible highlights the do's and the don'ts of what we should or should not do, or what God wants us to do, or what God wants us not to do. And guess what? We gotta follow it, because if he's the authority and he's the most, and authority meaning like he's the priority, he's the person that we should look to for guidance, look to for help, look to for all sorts of things. So if God is our authority, guess what? We must listen to what he had to say. We must follow what we have to say. We must be obedient to what he had to say. And these are like the requirements of respecting God as the authority, you know? So what it means so the topic says, your work does not count if it's not based on God's authority. So the next part that we have to focus on is, your work does not count if it's not based on God's authority. So whatever you do that is not based on what God tell you to do, it doesn't matter. It do not count. If God tell you, hey, he's speaking to you and he's telling you, I want you to pray for Mary because Mary is sick. But then you know that John, Peter, and Andrew is sick also. So you bypass Mary, you start praying for Job, you start praying for Sam, you start praying for Paul because you know they sick. And you feel good because you're like, I prayed and I helped somebody, and you feel confident. But guess what? You did not follow directions. God did not say to pray for them. Yes, it's nice. It's a good gesture. But you did not do what he told you to do. You went way beyond what he told you to do. Yes, you did not even listen. You didn't even obey. You did not follow authority at all because you didn't do what he told you to do. So if he tell you to pray for Mary and you're going to pray for somebody else, guess what? Whatever you just did not count. It didn't matter because you didn't do what he told you to do. Right? So those people that's out there that, you know, this topic could go so many different ways. And so those people out there that says that God still look at that. It still matters, you know, at least the job has been done. At least, you know, she prayed for that person prayed for somebody that's also sick. Yes, all those things are important. But you look at it in God's eyes, it don't matter. It don't matter. For example, and I'm gonna tell you the story about Moses and how he hit the rock. So in Exodus 17, it talked about how God, he literally said that, hey, Moses, I want, the people in them was begging. Well, I'm gonna just give you a little snippet of the story. People was begging, they was thirsty, and they like, hey, how you gonna take us here? They're threatening to stone him and all kinds of stuff like that. This is Moses I'm talking about. They trying to they're threatening to stone Moses because they're like, how you taking us from this place where we was at and you bringing us here and we're dying, we're thirsty, like come on, do something. So Moses gone crying to God saying like, what can I do? Like, look, you got me in this position, like help me, please, you know. So God told Moses, go to the rock and strike the rock. So he tells him to strike the rock. Goes to the rock, strike the rock, water will come down. Lo and behold, Moses went to the rock. He said some other stuff too, like make sure the elders are there while you're doing it, yada yada yada. But he did exactly what God. So in this instance, Moses followed the authority. He followed what God said and his rules that God placed, and he went to the rock, he struck the rock, and water came out. Now there's this other instance now. Same person. This is in Numbers chapter 20. Y'all can look it up yourself so y'all can see the comparison. Now, we all know that, so, okay, let me back why. So in Numbers 20 now, same situation happened. People's thirsty. They in like a little desert kind of place. And they thirsty. They want water. It's like, look, there's nothing around us. We need something. Please. So, went back to God again. God said, listen, Moses, you and Aaron go to the rock. Speak to the rock. And tell the rock, you know, whatever they said. Speak to the rock and water will come out, right? And because Moses was so angry because these people starting to frustrate him, you know, I'm trying to help you. You complaining about everything, you frustrate my brain. So now I'm at the rock, and I remember them from before. God told me to hit the rock. So I ain't really paying attention to what God is saying. I don't know what Moses was thinking at the time. But long story short, Moses decided to hit the rock again. So guess what? He hit the rock again, and lo and behold, water come pouring out, which is great. Everybody's happy, right? They getting water to drink in abundance. They excited. Even Moses is probably happy because he's like, hey, I got the water to come out. Like, God listened to me and the miracle happened. I'm happy. Like, you know. But guess what? We're missing out the big, most important picture, which is he did not follow God's authority and God's rules or what God said for him to do. And even though the water still come out and the same miracle happened, we forgetting that God don't forget. And God remember, you did not listen to me. So guess what? He was banned from the promised land because he did not follow God's instruction. So even though at that moment you think everything is jolly and willy, eventually it will catch up to you. And that goes to so many different peoples and so many different aspects and so many different situations. You may get away with it now, and at this point in time, you're doing, even though God is telling you to do this and you're doing your own thing, guess what? It will catch up to you, and God's gonna remember, and it will get back to you in at a time where you think that you will be good because you thinking things, all these miracles and stuff is happening and things going in your favor. You think God is on your side. God remembers that you was disobedient. When I told you to do this and I told you to speak to the rock, why did you strike it? So take notes. Heed unto the word. Your work does not count if it's not based on God's authority. My pastor always like to say, like, if you hire a painter to paint your house, but the painter go and clean everything in your house and make it nice and spotless, but didn't paint the house like they tell you to do, they didn't do their job, because I hired you to paint, and painting you didn't do. So now I gotta find somebody else to come paint the house that I originally wanted to do. So pay attention to everything and make sure that you listen, because guess what? Your work does not count if it's not based on God's authority. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you listen to the word, you take heed to the word, and make sure that whatever you do in life, that is based on God's authority, especially if it's God's work that you're doing. And tune in tomorrow, like, share, and subscribe. Thank you guys for everything. In no other name but in Jesus' almighty name.